Haoge Haoge, Douluo Yige. Haoge Haoge, always drop the legend. A young soul who had not read the original work was dressed in Douluo Continent, and coincidentally, he was also dressed as Huo Yuhao, the illegitimate son of Duke Baihu. He, who was born with only one soul power, originally wanted to run a barbecue restaurant and spend the rest of his life wandering around, but unfortunately, he was forced onto the path of becoming a god. Okay, if you become a god, then become a god, but ordinary people and soul masters, martial souls and soul guides, empires and empires, humans and soul beasts, mortals and gods, this world is filled with irreconcilable contradictions everywhere. How can the path to becoming a god be smooth? Do Er Tong Ren, this article may contain the following pitfalls, do not like to lightly criticize. Possible settings for eating original work. Some character images have collapsed, such as the protagonist being irritable and having an older brother anti-Shrek try to write as easily as possible, as there won't be deep grudges. Keywords of the novel. Douluo's Ice Magic Rain How no pop-ups, Douluo's Ice Magic Rain How complete collection download, Douluo's Ice Magic Rain How latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Youth in the Rain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Youth in the Rain. In the sky, dark clouds cover the sky. In front of the grave, the young man stood for a long time. Huo Yuhao stood silently in front of a tombstone, holding his shoulders in both hands and staring silently. This tombstone is tall, 2 meters tall, even higher than Huo Yuhao. The material of the tombstone is also precious and rare granite, with exquisite patterns carved on it, lifelike. After the tombstone, there is a beautifully repaired and spacious tomb. With such a magnificent burial ground, the identity of the tomb owner must be neither rich nor noble. However, the location of the cemetery does not match this luxurious tomb. It is just a remote hill with lush vegetation. Huo Yuhao still stood silently, gazing at how long a person had stood in front of this grave on this cloudy day. The wind is whistling, the trees are rustling, and the dark clouds cover the sky. The occasional flash of thunder lights up the gaps in the clouds, indicating the upcoming rainstorm, which also adds a bit of weirdness to this world. And in this pitch-black world, Huo Yuhao, a young man independent of the grave, emitted a faint ice-blue light in his cold and sharp eyes. The owner of these eyes is only 11 years old this year, and his handsome face has already begun to shed its immaturity, while the firmness in his eyes makes him even more mature. People in this world are developing rapidly. Huo Yuhao is only 11 years old this year, and he is already 1.7 meters tall. Why emphasize this world? Because Huo Yuhao was not originally a person from this world, he was a traveler. Huo Yuhao also forgot how he traveled, only knowing that he came to this world 11 years ago. This world is called Douluo Continent. On the Douluo Continent, everyone can awaken their martial soul at the age of 6, also known as the weapon martial soul or the beast martial soul. Those with talent can cultivate soul power and become soul masters. Cultivation is the reason for Huo Yuhao's rapid development. Soul masters can summon weapons, while soul masters can possess martial souls, but Huo Yuhao does not belong to either. His martial soul is his eyes. It does not belong to the spirit of weapons or beasts, but rather to the rare yet powerful. The essence of martial soul. Unfortunately, a powerful physical martial soul is not accompanied by a powerful talent. While awakening the martial soul, it also tests everyone's innate soul power, from 0 to 10. The highest level is 10, known as innate full soul power, which can be described as a dragon and phoenix among humans. But the vast majority of commoners have no talent at all, and they have no connection with those who have no innate soul power in their cultivation. What is Huo Yuhao's innate soul power? 1. Innate soul power. His terrible talent may have already predicted his bumpy fate. Huo Yuhao's calm eyes seem to contain a hint of confusion and resentment, staring at the tall tombstone ahead. There are 2 rows of characters engraved in the middle of the tombstone. Tomb of beloved wife, loving mother, Huo Yuner, Dai Hao, Huo Yuhao. This tomb is none other than Huo Yuner, the mother of Huo Yuhao in this world. Huo Yuhao was originally an orphan in his past life. Although he was adopted by his uncle and did not treat him unfairly in material terms, his busy work uncle did not have time to fill in the missing family bond of Huo Yuhao. He still enjoys maternal love in this world. If that man, in terms of identity, is his father and can fulfill his responsibilities, then Huo Yuhao can enjoy the complete family relationship. Huo Yuhao stared fixedly at a name on the tombstone. Dai Hao. This person is the White Tiger Duke of the Star Luo Empire, who has been hereditary and holds a prestigious position. Huo Yuhao's mother, Huo Yuner, was originally a close maid who grew up with the Duke of White Tiger and was favored by the Duke. So one night, Huo Yuhao was born. However, the maid was ultimately a maid, and Huo Yuhao was just an illegitimate child. The mother and son were constantly suppressed by the Duchess. During the time when Duke Baihu was busy with war and frequently went out, Huo Yuhao's mother and son not only had to do various rough jobs, but even their residence was forced into the wooden house of the Duke's mansion. "Old woman, I'll beat you to death." At a young age, Huo Yuhao could only vent his emotions by cursing. Every time he picked up firewood, he would use it to beat the Duchess he had imagined 8 times. He also knew that he could not shake the towering Duchess, let alone she was a member of the starry royal family. The identity of the Duchess has been set in the original work, and the original setting is adopted here. However, despite his hard work and having to do a lot of work, every time Huo Yuhao sees his mother's gentle smile and gently caresses his wounds, a warm stream of happiness will flood his whole body. Is this maternal love? When he had free time, Huo Yuhao sometimes pretended to have a childish tone and deliberately asked her mother, "Where's Dad? Why doesn't he come to see us?" Huo Yuner would gently answer every time, "Your father went to fight for his country." "Yuhao, don't hate your father." Every time there were such answers, although still carrying a kind maternal love, they constantly washed away Huo Yuhao's patience. "Why? Why do you think so? Don't you know what kind of life you are living now? Why do you have to forgive that man?" Huo Yuhao didn't understand why Huo Yuner was so ignorant. However, he still tolerates, and negative emotions continue to squeeze, far from the point of eruption. Finally, after working day after day, Huo Yuner fell ill. This year, Huo Yuhao was only 7 years old. Although Huo Yuhao only has innate soul power, his physical fitness is also stronger than that of ordinary people. But Huo Yuner is a weak woman who doesn't even have any soul power. Just ordinary wind and cold can easily take the fragile life of this woman. "Mom, take a good rest for a while, I'll go find a doctor." Huo Yuhao settled down for Huo Yuner, who was slightly recovering from his illness, and resolutely walked out of the Duke's mansion. He doesn't understand medical skills and doesn't know where to find a doctor, but his eyes are firm and his goals are clear, Duke Baihu of the White Tiger. Huo Yuhao deeply understands that this man is the root cause of solving her mother's pain. He can escape from the Duke's mansion at any time and leave with all his might, but for the sake of his mother, he must completely solve the problem. No one knows how Huo Yuhao, who is only 7 years old, climbed hundreds or thousands of miles alone to find the military camp where the Duke of White Tiger was stationed. When Duke Baihu of the White Tiger had just won a major victory in a medium-sized battle and was preparing to console his soldiers, he was shocked to see a 7-year-old child come to the army and challenge himself. When he found out that the angry child was none other than himself and Huo Yuner's child, Baihu rushed back to the Duke's mansion like a madman. From then on, Huo Yuner's fate changed. The Duke of White Tiger had a resolute attitude, and even if the Duchess wanted to say something, it was of no use. After all, the Duke's mansion ultimately listens to the Duke of White Tiger. Huo Yuner has gained fame and no longer needs to engage in labor. Huo Yuhao also had the official status of Duke's son. Although he was only an illegitimate son, his treatment improved, his nutrition improved, he no longer had to work, and his body and bones became even taller. The servants who used to suppress them together with the Duchess can now face Huo Yuhao's mother and son with utmost respect. But Huo Yuner, who was naturally kind, couldn't bear to command her servants, and still personally did many miscellaneous things. After not enjoying a few years of peaceful life, Huiyun felt a chill again, but this time she was not so lucky. Despite using the best medicine, she still passed away. I beg you to be good to yourself, TM. For a long time, an inexplicable anger surged in Huo Yuhao's heart, and he gritted his teeth and uttered a sentence. The tone was filled with a sense of sadness and anger towards their misfortune. Roaming and rumbling, thunder exploded in the sky, followed by raindrops gradually falling. Did it rain? Huo Yuhao raised his head slightly and extended his right hand to feel the increasingly dense raindrops. The rain filled the palm of the hand, and then a chill emanated, causing the rain in the palm to condense into ice. Huo Yuhao calmly poured the ice into his mouth and chewed it gently. Click, the ice shattered and turned into a refreshing sensation in the mouth and calmness in the brain. This is Huo Yuhao's second martial soul, ice. He is also a rare twin martial soul holder. I don't know when, but chewing on ice has become a habit for Huo Yuhao to force himself to remain calm. Brush, the sound of heavy footsteps stepping on the wet grass and soil from behind seems to be able to feel the heaviness of the owner's heart. Huo Yuhao snorted coldly, without looking back. He knew who the newcomer was. The yin-yang strange airway. What a rare guest, what wind brought you here? The Duke of the White Tiger. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Father and Son. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Father and Son. The newcomer is tall and has a height of 2 meters. He was wearing short sleeves, revealing the strong and terrifying muscles of his arms. A broad cloak hung down from behind, which was the emblem of the generals in the Star Army. The resolute face, chiseled with knives and axes, was imbued with a calm and imposing aura, exuding a faint sense of solemnity that made every person who looked at him instinctively believe that this steel-like man was a seasoned soldier who had gone through life and death on the battlefield. However, it was this majestic man who, as he approached each step, gradually lost the murderous aura emanating from his body, replaced by the tenderness and compassion in his pupils. He braved the increasingly heavy rain and walked to the tombstone, squatting down beside Huo Yuhao with his majestic figure, placing a bundle of yellow and white chrysanthemums in his hand on the ground. He is the biological father of Huo Yuhao, Duke of White Tiger, Dai Hao. Huo Yuhao did not regard him as his father's consciousness, but asked calmly, Duke Baihu is not commanding the war on the front line. What are you doing here? The Duke of White Tiger did not get up and remained in a crouching position. He spoke up and replied, there aren't as many wars this year. We have temporarily signed a ceasefire agreement. And he looked at the tombstone in front of him with deep affection, reached out and gently stroked the 3 words, Huo Yuner, on the tombstone, wiping away the rainwater from it. Today is Yunar's 7th day, I must come back and take a look. Does Douluo Continent also talk about the top 7? Huo Yuhao didn't think much, just sneered coldly. Shoo, put on a show. Why did you go early? The Duke of White Tiger did not refute, he knew that he owed too much to this mother and son. If an outsider sees this scene in front of them at this moment, they will surely be shocked. Why can the White Tiger Duke in front of him tolerate the burial of young people? In terms of status, he is the White Tiger Duke, second only to the royal family of the Star Luo Empire. In terms of power, he is the White Tiger Marshal who commands the entire army. In terms of strength, he is the 8-ringed Soul Douluo, and in the future, he will almost surely inherit the title of White Tiger Douluo from his ancestors. You should know that the strength of this world is divided into 10 levels based on soul power. Soul Master, Great Soul Master, Soul Zun, Soul Sect, Soul King, Soul Emperor, Soul Saint, Soul Douluo, and Title Douluo. If there are experts here, it is not difficult to discern. The soul power of this young man is only at level 10, and he has not even obtained the first soul ring. He cannot even be called a formal soul master. What qualifications does this young man have to mock him? Neither of them spoke, letting the rain fall on them. For a long time, Duke Baihu spoke up and said, "Sleeping here for a long time, I feel a bit guilty to Chu Yuner. This is just a hilly and mountainous area next to the Duke's mansion, extremely remote." Huo Yuhao shrugged and said, "There's nothing I can do. I'm afraid if I bury it in the ancestral land, your wife will often take care of it carelessly." When talking about the three words, carelessness, Huo Yuhao emphasized his tone. Duke Baihu didn't say much, as if he had agreed to Huo Yuhao's words. Huo Yuhao looked down the mountain and saw the Duke's mansion there. The Duke's mansion, which covers a wide area, remains brightly lit on rainy days. The tombstone is facing towards the direction of the Duke's mansion, which is also Huo Yuner's last wish. Huo Yuhao swiped his right hand over his belt-shaped storage soul guide, and a short blade, over a foot long, wrapped in a scabbard, appeared in his hand. The short blade, which was over a foot long, was skillfully played with by Huo Yuhao, spinning and dancing at his fingertips like a butterfly, making it dazzling. It's amazing that this young man is a skilled swordsman. This is. Duke White Tiger was taken aback. He was familiar with the short blade in Huo Yuhao's hand. This is the gift he gave to Huo Yuner many years ago. The White Tiger dagger. This may be one of the few things I have given to Huo Yuner myself. Huo Yuhao's hand stopped moving, and the White Tiger dagger stopped rotating. It was placed in a groove on the tombstone pattern by Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao knew how much Huo Yuner cared about this White Tiger dagger, treating it as a treasure. He held it until his death, as if holding the palm of his lover's hand. "Yuhao, take it." Duke White Tiger stood up and said, "This is a soul guide." Soul guide. Huo Yuhao raised his eyebrows. He didn't even notice it. "Did you regress yourself?" He is extremely proficient in using the knife, and the first impression this dagger gives him is better than ordinary knives. Lightweight and easy to handle, even without shedding its sheath, one can vaguely feel its sharpness. As for soul guides, they are tools that inject soul power and perform various special functions. Huo Yuhao is not unfamiliar with them. The belt he is wearing at this moment is a storage soul guide. Soul guides are not particularly valuable items, and with his current status as a duke's illegitimate son, he can still obtain some. "When I see it in the future, I can also think of your mother," Dai Hao continued to advise. Huo Yuhao remained speechless and withdrew the White Tiger dagger from his belt. Duke Baihu breathed a sigh of relief, seemingly feeling that the relationship between father and son had eased. He said, "Yuhao, take your surname." Huo Yuhao interrupted his words with a loud voice, "My surname is not Dai, my surname is Huo. My name is Huo Yuhao." Perhaps the Duke of White Tiger has discussed this issue many times, and as soon as he spoke, Huo Yuhao knew what he was going to say. The rain has decreased, but the wind has become louder." Duke Baihu spoke slowly and said, "Yuhao, are you still unwilling to forgive me?" Huo Yuhao said coldly, "Do you owe me anything?" He pointed to Huo Yuner's tombstone and said, "It's her you're sorry for. It's not me, I have no right to forgive you." The Duke of White Tiger felt like a thorn in his throat, wanting to say something, but when it reached his mouth, there was only endless lamentation. Huo Yuhao looked at the mournful Duke of White Tiger with mixed emotions. He didn't want to forgive the physiological father in front of him, but he didn't know what to say to scold him. After all, the man in front of me has already done his best to make up for everything. Due to his guilt towards the mother and son, Duke Baihu has already given them abundant material conditions, and even Huo Yuhao has obtained the only privilege of the entire duchy. That's disrespectful to the Duke of White Tiger. Because of this, Huo Yuhao was able to freely deal with the Duke of White Tiger in a strange way. Even if it was Dai Huabin, who was of the same age and half-mother as him and the legitimate brother of the Duchess, who dared to speak to the Duke of White Tiger like this, Dai Hao would have shouted loudly in his ears. But Huo Yuhao only did so in a few occasions without outsiders, because he deeply understood that he wanted to save some face for the Duke of White Tiger. The Duke of White Tiger can tolerate his disrespect because he has a guilty conscience and because he wants to be worthy of himself. And others don't care about these. Huo Yuhao didn't know what attitude to choose towards Duke Baihu. He used to think he would hate him to the bone, but when Duke Baihu let go of his stance in front of him, he felt that his hatred was not as strong anymore. Forget it, that's it. Huo Yuhao didn't want to do so much anymore. Looking back at the smile on his mother's face before her death, he felt a little relieved. For now, he thought that his mother and the Duke of White Tiger had already reconciled. Yuhao, what do you plan to do in the future? Just as Huo Yuhao was pondering, Duke Baihu spoke again. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Future plans. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Future plans. Yuhao, what are your plans for the future? Duke Baihu asked. The atmosphere between the two was no longer so cold, and Huo Yuhao calmly replied, there's nothing planned. I'm planning to leave the Duke's mansion right away. Why? Why is there so much? Anyway, your wife doesn't like me. Others look down on me privately, so why bother me here as a commoner? This is Huo Yuhao's true idea. In fact, if it weren't for his mother, he would have run out alone long ago. A certain old woman seems to have delusions of being victimized and always looks down on her. Please, why threaten the status of her sons as a commoner with innate soul power? Huo Yuhao became increasingly displeased as he thought about it. Previously, the Duchess always didn't give him a good face, and it was because he had repeatedly expressed his surname Huo and his intention to leave the Duke's mansion. Coupled with another layer of relationship, the old woman gradually subsided. As for the future, I will continue to run a barbecue restaurant in the city, marry 3 or 4 wives, and just make ends meet. Huo Yuhao said, I don't care about breaking the title. As a commoner, can I inherit at most a viscount or a baron? What's the use of a title? And so on. Halfway through Huo Yuhao's speech, his face suddenly changed and he asked seriously, can I marry so many wives without a title? Duke White Tiger. He couldn't help but laugh and cry, and the serious atmosphere became more lively. I thought Huo Yuhao had realized the nobility and importance of a title again, but I didn't expect him to care about it. Duke Baihu replied, as long as you are in agreement, even ordinary people can do it. Oh, that's good. However, I hope you don't make mistakes like me, the Duke of White Tiger added. Of course not, Huo Yuhao said lightly. Besides that, haven't you ever thought about pushing to a higher level? I see infinite potential in you, and I believe that with time, you will also be able to become famous in the mainland. If there were outsiders around, I would definitely feel that the Duke of White Tiger is crazy at this moment. Because Huo Yuhao's soul power is only level 10 at this time, and his innate soul power is only level 1. At this moment, a genius of the same age as him has even begun to attack the third ring Soul Lord. What does he want to pursue? But Huo Yuhao knew that this was not a comforting word for him. He also discovered his own differences, starting from the day of the awakening of the martial soul. Normally, the higher the innate soul power, the more dazzling the crystal ball will burst out during awakening. When Huo Yuhao awakened his martial soul with 10 consecutive thoughts, he was a bit stunned because he had not summoned any weapons, nor had he grown any hair or scales on his body. There is only one sound circulating in his brain. Your martial soul is the eyes. Rare physical martial soul. Of course, at that time he didn't know what the true martial soul was. There was no time to confuse him, and then came the soul power test. When Huo Yuhao's hands touched the crystal ball, a dazzling light burst out instantly. This is a sign of innate soul power. But the light was too brief, so brief that everyone thought it was their illusion. The dazzling light flickered in the blink of an eye, leaving only a faint glow in the crystal ball. Martial soul. Eyes, innate soul power. Level 1. The awakening officer announced the results and also announced the future achievements of Huo Yuhao. A servant cast a contemptuous gaze at Huo Yuhao. I heard that he was the illegitimate son of the Duke and his maid. Just one level, really a waste. Stop talking, the Duchess is not here now, and the lady doesn't want us to discuss these. But there is a woman who doesn't care. Huo Yuhao crouched down with a light smile, looking into Huo Yuhao's eyes, those ice-blue eyes shining with vitality. Huo Yuhao's eyes are very beautiful, no one else has them. My Hao has been so clever since he was young. How could these be ordinary eyes? Just call them blingmo, okay? This is the first time Huo Yuhao truly understands what maternal love is. The memory of the awakening of the martial soul is incredibly clear, and Huo Yuhao will never forget it for a lifetime. He always remembers every detail of the time and deeply believes in one thing. The dazzling light at that time was not an illusion. Because he could feel that during the test, the soul power in his body seemed to be sucked away by something. And now he has roughly guessed the reason. It's his second martial soul issue. Ice. He not only has a physical martial soul, but also a rare owner of twin martial souls. Ice, as an elemental martial soul, although unique, is not uncommon. But when it awakened, no one noticed it, including Huo Yuhao himself. At first, it was just a cluster of cold air that no one noticed. This cold air was like a lodging in his body, feeding on his soul power like an ice cave. Twin martial souls must have innate soul power, but Huo Yuhao is an exception. When he was young, he didn't believe in fate and believed that humans could conquer nature. He went crazy and worked hard to cultivate his soul power. But every time the soul power that finally rose was swallowed up by the cold air in the dantian, leaving only a little behind. Huo Yuhao is foolish. After he gained the title of Duke's son, he also took a few pills and, as expected, fed them all to the bottomless cold. However, Huo Yuhao immediately discovered the benefits of this second martial soul. The remaining soul power seemed to have been refined, extremely pure. It also led to his foundation being much more stable than other soul masters. Under the influence of the second martial soul, even though he worked hard to cultivate, he had only just reached level 10 soul power this year. This is the secret of Huo Yuhao's martial soul, and there are no more than 5 people who know his secret in the entire Duke's mansion. And the Duke of the White Tiger is one of them. He discovered Huo Yuhao's unique talent. Once his legitimate young son Dai Huabin and Huo Yuhao had a conflict, and it was he who ordered that no one else be allowed to act and let the two resolve it themselves. The solution is very simple and rough. Let 2 children who are only 7 or 8 years old fight. No one dares to question the decision of Duke Baihu, nor does anyone doubt that Dai Huabin, whose martial soul is Baihu and has reached level 10, will lose to Huo Yuhao, who does not even have level 5. However, the winner was Huo Yuhao. Perhaps it is due to the essence of martial soul, although it is a spiritual attribute. After gaining nourishment, his physical fitness has also greatly improved. Although the methods were somewhat lackluster, using some harmful and insidious moves also exposed his secrets. Fortunately, only the White Tiger Duke, who was a soul Douluo, discovered Huo Yuhao's twin martial souls. However, even he did not notice that there was a terrifying detail in Huo Yuhao's twin martial souls. If you want to pursue strength and constantly become stronger, I can provide you with 3 paths, said the Duke of White Tiger. Huo Yuhao listened attentively and said, let's talk and see. Firstly, join the army directly with me. I believe you can grow rapidly in the army and on the battlefield. As the commander-in-chief of the entire army, I will not give you any preferential treatment, but I can guarantee that you will not be in any danger from outside the battlefield. When it comes to the military, Duke White Tiger's tone becomes serious. As for the issue with the soul ring, I will help you solve it. Next. Huo Yuhao didn't say much, waved his hand, and his attitude seemed to reject it directly. The Duke of White Tiger was not surprised and continued. Second, go to the Xingluo Royal College. Her Royal Highness Princess said that she can reserve a place for you at any time. Princess. Upon hearing this title, Huo Yuhao was slightly stunned, and the graceful figure came to mind. Is it long? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Selection and Departure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Selection and Departure. His Royal Highness Princess in the mouth of Duke Baihu has been the youngest sister of the Emperor Xingluo for a long time. Forget it, I already owe her too much, so I won't cause her any trouble, Huo Yuhao said calmly, recalling his first encounter with Su Jojo. He had made up his mind to go face to face with the Duke of White Tiger, but he didn't know where to go. It's ridiculous that the Duke of White Tiger is commanding the battle on the front line. With him alone, how could he possibly be found? Huo Yuhao doesn't have any extraneous golden fingers for travelers. What can he do? After Huo Yuhao calmly pondered, a crazy solution came to mind. Make a fuss. He doesn't know where the Duke of White Tiger is, but there will always be someone who knows. What I need to do is to attract the attention of those people. With such thoughts in his mind, Huo Yuhao's eyes were cold as he walked towards the palace of the Star Luo Empire. He was ultimately imaginative and couldn't even see the gate of the palace, but he met someone. Little brother, you can't break into the palace without permission. I'll forgive you this time. Hey! Are you looking for Duke Baihu? You should go to the Duke's mansion, especially since Duke Baihu is currently fighting for the Star Luo Empire. You can't find him. He's your father. What are you looking for him for? I see, is it for your mother? Su Jojo stared blankly at the boy who was 3 or 4 years younger than him. He is not a genius, and he is also very young now, but his gaze is terrifyingly resolute. Even the soldiers who have been on the battlefield and the senior Douluo worshipped in the palace do not have such a look in his eyes. A wave of fear and guilt inexplicably rose in Su Jojo's heart, and she couldn't bear to refuse all the demands of the boy. Sorry, although I really want to help you, I can't leave Xingluo City. It's okay, can you tell me where Dai Hao is now? Huo Yuhao smiled indifferently and continued to ask. After hesitating for a long time, Su finally made up his mind and handed him a map that marked the current station situation of the Star Luo Empire army, with the position of the White Tiger Duke prominently displayed. Thank you, I'll treat you to dinner when I'm back. Huo Yuhao left with the map in hand. Su Jojo watched him leave in a daze, recalling the boy's resolute gaze. He couldn't help but believe that he would surely succeed in finding the Duke of White Tiger, who was far away on the border. In a few days, Huo Yuhao returned, along with Duke Baihu. Your Royal Highness Princess is visiting. A few weeks later, when the Duke's mansion welcomed Princess Jojo to visit the mansion. What does your Royal Highness Princess want from me? What? Didn't you say you wanted to treat me to dinner? This is the process of Huo Yuhao getting to know Su Jojo. Afterwards, Princess Jojo provided him with a lot of help. Moreover, with her mediating in the middle, the Duchess's hostility towards Huo Yuhao has also weakened significantly, at least on the surface. Going to Xingluo Royal College can also be considered a way out. Huo Yuhao said, let's talk more. What is the third way? Duke White Tiger said, Shrek Academy. Shrek College. Upon hearing this term, Huo Yuhao couldn't help but frown slightly. This is a holy land in the hearts of young soul masters all over the mainland, and can be called the first academy in the mainland. Powerful resources and terrifying strength attract young soul masters from all over the continent. It has a history of thousands of years since its establishment and has cultivated countless strong individuals over the long years. Title Douluo, countless strongest soul masters have been born here. And Shrek Academy has even given birth to a level above the title Douluo. God. The story of the sea god Tang San and the first Shrek 7 monsters is widely circulated on the mainland. Huo Yuhao smiled and said, you look up to me so much. How can I go to Shrek College? He is not unfamiliar with the admission requirements of Shrek College. Apart from the procedural introduction and letter of introduction, there are only two mandatory requirements for new students. One is not over 12 years old, secondly, soul power cannot be lower than level 15. The teaching purpose of Shrek College is to cultivate monsters. Huo Yuhao is 11 years old this year, but his soul power is only at level 10, which does not meet the admission criteria. Here you are. The Duke of White Tiger took out a stack of documents, which were beautifully and tightly packaged, and would not be dampened by wind and rain. What is this? Huo Yuhao took the file bag without opening it. This is the special admission certificate for Shrek College and the introduction letters for the Duke's Mansion in Star City. Duke White Tiger explained, our White Tiger lineage has a long-standing connection with Shrek College. Every year, they offer the Duke's Mansion a special admission spot for students who are exempt from exams. With this, you can report to the admissions office and enroll. Go through the back door. Huo Yuhao smiled. He has also heard of this privilege of the Duke's Mansion, but rarely actually uses it. His older brother Dai Caiheng has been studying at Shrek for several years, and if nothing unexpected happens to his cheap brother Dai Huabin, he will also be able to enroll smoothly this year. With their qualifications, they can't even use this spot. In previous years, the Duke's office would offer this spot to exchange favors with other nobles, but this year the Duke of White Tiger has kept this spot and used it for Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao's heart was complex. To be honest, he doesn't really want to accept Dai Hao's help. Now he wants to break the ties with the Duke's Mansion as neatly as possible. But after careful consideration, he still accepted it. This should be the first time in his memory that Dai Hao helped someone through a back door. You didn't mention our relationship in the letter, did you? Huo Yuhao asked. No, Duke White Tiger shook his head. I wrote in the letter that you are the orphan of a fallen soldier in our army, and this quota is used to comfort the soldiers. I think it's quite thoughtful. Huo Yuhao shrugged and put away the documents. Okay, since that's the case, I'll go take a look at this Shrek College. Duke White Tiger warned, Shrek College has high expectations for its students. Every year, countless students drop out, but I believe in you. He looked firmly at Huo Yuhao. This young man possesses a perseverance and resilience that far exceeds that of an ordinary person. However, Huo Yuhao said coldly, if you quit, do you think you can't survive if you quit school? Huo Yuhao's resilience will only be revealed in front of what he cares about. But for other things, he always maintains an indifferent attitude. When will you go hunt for soul rings? Duke White Tiger asked again. Spiritual attribute soul beasts are very rare. You can first search for suitable ice attribute soul beasts, and I can arrange. No need, I'll handle the soul ring myself, Huo Yuhao said decisively. You don't have to worry about me anymore in the future. Duke Baihu opened his mouth but remained silent. Soul masters must hunt soul beasts to obtain a soul ring for every 10 levels of cultivation before they can enter the next level. And soul rings can bring soul skills, so naturally they should be as powerful as possible. For Yuhao, how could he possibly hunt enough quality soul rings alone? Although martial souls are eyes, I'm not really very clever, and my spiritual eyes don't read well. Huo Yuhao muttered to himself towards the tombstone, do you think magic eyes sound a bit more handsome? He spoke seriously, as if he was really discussing with the deceased Huo Yuhao. If you don't speak, you'll just assume it's your default. At this moment, Huo Yuhao's tone was light-hearted and playful, with a casual smile on his expression. The Duke of White Tiger let out a sigh, knowing in his heart that this child was far more mature than an ordinary person's appearance. Spirited, the rain is suddenly heavy again. It seems that there will be a rainstorm that will not end in a short time. I'm leaving. Huo Yuhao straightened his clothes. The Duke of White Tiger knew that he was not only leaving here, but also leaving the Duke's mansion. He couldn't help feeling a bit sad and reluctant, not only because he felt guilty in his heart, but also because as a soldier, he greatly appreciated the perseverance and inner strength of Huo Yuhao. Unfortunately, the fragile connection between him and Huo Yuhao relies entirely on the deceased Huo Yuner. Duke Baihu finally advised, "I have gone to Shrek Academy. If you have any difficulties, you can find Huabin and Qiheng. After all, you have the same bloodline. Don't worry, our relationship is better than you imagined." During the conversation, Huo Yuhao had already taken a few steps. The Duke of White Tiger looked at the back of the child, filled with melancholy in his heart, and shouted loudly, "You are still young, you must walk on the road to the future well." Huo Yuhao stopped and paused for 2 seconds before continuing forward. "I'm still young. But I already understand what life is. See you later, Duke White Tiger." Upon hearing Huo Yuhao's farewell, Duke Baihu fell silent. He wanted to give some final instructions, but it seemed that his love for children was not his forte. His thousands of words eventually turned into one sentence. "Yuhao, take care of yourself and don't catch a cold." Huo Yuhao's footsteps stopped again, he smiled vaguely, and finally shook his head helplessly, changing his tone and saying, "Goodbye by chance." After speaking, his figure slowly disappeared into the rain. Duke Baihu watched him leave, let out a long sigh, and looked at the tombstone with a mournful and complex expression. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Barbecue Brother Huo Yuhao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Barbecue Brother Huo Yuhao. A few months later. A young man is leisurely roasting a green fish in his hand by a small stream not far from the outskirts of the starry forest. He stood in front of the fire, holding a wooden stick with grilled fish in each hand, hanging on the fire and slowly rotating. His face, which was losing its childishness, was nurturing a growing spirit. The flames leaped and the rising heat rolled his blue bangs, but there was no sweat on his forehead. His attire was simple, with lightweight short-sleeved pants that looked casual, but the pattern on the short sleeves was not at all simple. On the jet-black fabric, a white tiger with hanging eyes and a gray forehead spans across his left shoulder from his back, extending its dense tiger claws and revealing its strong fangs. The tiger over the shoulder has a fierce face, with a strong tendency to descend the mountain and attack people. The young man had a relaxed posture, skillful movements, and his slightly shiny crystal blue eyes were full of confidence, confident and confident. He baked fish while reciting words. Control the fire and receive heat evenly. Low fire produces oil, high fire changes color. Finally, sprinkle another handful of Haoge's secret seasoning, and this little fragrance will come up with just a scratch. The grilled fish, which was already slightly burnt yellow, had a strong aroma after being sprinkled with mysterious powder. The young man boasted with satisfaction. "Haoge Haoge, barbecue master. Undoubtedly the founder and CEO of Xingluo's first barbecue restaurant. This young man is Huo Yuhao, who has left the Duke's mansion. He is now preparing to go to the starry forest to search for his first soul ring and is taking a brief rest." After leaving Xingluo City, he didn't rush on his way, walking non-stop and slowly moving towards the direction of the starry forest. Money, he is not lacking. He doesn't like the little gold coins given by the Duke's mansion. His main income comes from his own barbecue restaurant. This barbecue restaurant is very unique, not only has a good taste, but also has a large backstage. Princess Su Jiujiu of the Star Luo royal family holds 50% of the shares, and the remaining 50% is naturally in the hands of Huo Yuhao. And the barbecue among them has a unique taste, even better than many large restaurants. Economical and affordable, delicious but not expensive. With various reasons, barbecue restaurants are bustling with customers, making a fortune every day. Huo Yuhao is not short of money as a result. He is very confident that even if he looks at the whole continent, no one will make better tasting food. Why? There are two main reasons for whether the grill is good or not. Ingredients and heat. In terms of ingredients, Huo Yuhao naturally uses the best ingredients and also has a unique secret recipe. 13 fragrances. The complex spices that have undergone market tests in their past lives have dealt a dimension-reducing blow to Douluo Continent. However, this is not the key point. The intelligence and research spirit of the locals are somewhat beyond Huo Yuhao's expectations. He knew that there was already a big restaurant about to come up with a recipe for 13 fragrances. His barbecue secret lies in the heat. Heat is temperature, and controlling the temperature can better control the degree of baking. Therefore, the fire attribute martial soul that can control flames is very suitable for being a chef. But Huo Yuhao is different. He controls the temperature by relying on ice and cold air. Compared to manipulating the flame itself, the ability to control and suppress flames is more accurate in controlling temperature. Moreover, Huo Yuhao has another unique advantage. His magical eye and rare spiritual attribute of martial soul. After awakening his physical martial soul eyes, his vision became even more terrifying. Huo Yuhao did not have a specific test, but he estimated his vision to be at least 20.0, and the key is that he can still see many details that ordinary people do not notice. This also allows him to adjust the heat more accurately when grilling fish. The power of controlling elemental martial souls is not only reflected in power, but also in accuracy. Although Huo Yuhao's soul power is weak, his level of precision in manipulating ice elements is unmatched by many strong players. Only at his level can he freely control the temperature of the wildfire, and the ice attribute apprentices recruited in the store will be in a hurry when they leave the oven. Although it seems to be of little use except for controlling the temperature. Even if there is another twin martial soul master in this world who possesses both ice and spirit attributes, he will never surpass Huo Yuhao in this aspect, because there is also a terrifying detail hidden here: Huo Yuhao can use his twin martial souls at the same time. At first, Huo Yuhao didn't know this, but when he learned this cold knowledge, he was surprised, but a hint of worry flashed through his mind. He decided to try to hide his second martial soul as much as possible. Twin martial souls have brought more possibilities, and being able to use them simultaneously brings endless changes. Of course, it is released weekly during barbecue, and almost no one will notice. The process of barbecue is also his cultivation process. TSK, it smells so good. Huo Yuhao twitched his nose and was very satisfied with his masterpiece. Both lifetimes were not perfect, but Huo Yuhao was not gloomy at all. On the contrary, he was a very optimistic and lively person. Family affection, when it exists, certainly feels warm and beautiful. Being alone also brings a sense of ease and freedom. After the death of Huo Yuhao's only relative and mother, there seemed to be no more bonds that could bind him. However, seeing his mother's belongings, he still feels emotional. Huo Yuhao raised the white tiger dagger and examined it for a while before putting it into his belt. It is indeed a good knife, light and sharp, and comes with an attack skill, which is much more convenient to use than his original kitchen knife. Forget it, Cha Fan. Huo Yuhao stopped thinking and looked at the pile of grilled fish in front of him, licking his lips. After being busy for so long, I can still enjoy eating. The consumption of cultivation is extremely high, and at least 10 grilled fish are enough for him to eat. After eating pickled vegetables and rolling tofu, the emperor couldn't compare to me. Huo Yuhao sang the joyful song of the 9 clans while biting off a piece of fish. Burnt tender, temperature, juice, taste. All aspects are perfect, ultimately creating this delicious taste together. Brother Hao's craftsmanship is really impressive, Huo Yuhao muttered to himself while eating. I don't believe that guy Su Jiawei pretends to be so serious every day, so he never has a craving for food. The Su Jiawei in his mouth is the current emperor of the Star Luo Empire. And the only one who can be so disrespectful to him is probably Huo Yuhao, who is not afraid of anything. Wow, it smells so good. A burst of surprise belonging to the girl came, with a clear and pleasant voice. Who? Huo Yuhao looked at the newcomer alertly, with a hostile expression on his face, and asked, Are you Su Jiawei's person? What? The girl was covered in mist, unsure of what Huo Yuhao was saying. Oh, it's nothing, I got the wrong person. Huo Yuhao waved his hands repeatedly, lowered his head and smiled lightly to conceal his embarrassment. It also takes courage to speak ill of the emperor behind this, otherwise if it reaches the emperor's ears, it will be a reunion of the 9 ethnic groups under the underworld. He looked around. There are 2 people in total, 1 male and 1 female, both around 13 or 14 years old. The girl has a tall and slender figure, with long black ponytail hair, full of youthful energy, lively and playful, and her attention is entirely focused on grilled fish. The young man was tall and upright, handsome and graceful, elegant and gentle, with a smile on his face. He held the back of his head with both hands and looked lazy, but his gaze was fixed on Huo Yuhao. Master. With a glance, Huo Yuhao labeled the boy. Huo Yuhao's soul power is weak now, and he cannot tell the level of other people's soul power. However, after the awakening of his spiritual attributes magic eye, he strongly believes in his 6th sense. As he looked at the other person, they also looked at him. This young man is not easy. Both of them coincidentally had the same idea in their minds. But the girl did not have such consciousness. She walked up 3 steps and 2 steps, drooling and asking, "Little brother, do you sell your grilled fish? It smells so good, how did you make it?" Upon hearing the girl's question, Huo Yuhao reflexively blurted out. 5 copper coins per stick, buy 3 get 1 free, buy 5 get 2 free. Starting from now, apply for a membership card and enjoy a maximum discount of 8.5%. Charge 100 to get 30 free, charge 300 to get 100 free, and have fun drinking. Don't miss the opportunity, don't come back, more discounts. For more details, please consult. Sorry, you said so smoothly. Huo Yuhao finished a wrap and realized that he was not in the store. He stuck out his tongue and said again, "You can give 5 copper coins for 1 grilled fish." Girl. Dot. Youth. Dot. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Tang and Beibei. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Tang and Beibei, both of them were stunned by Huo Yuhao's advertising slogan. "Do you still want to buy it, female customer?" Huo Yuhao reminded out loud. "Buy, of course buy, let's buy 2. The girl regained her senses, but had no intention of paying. Instead, she turned her head, opened her eyes wide, and looked pitifully and wrongfully at the young man beside her. The blue-haired boy sighed helplessly and handed a silver coin to Huo Yuhao. "Thank you for your patronage. It's a great honor for our small business." Huo Yuhao accepted the money and delivered the 2 grilled fish, but he was also complaining in his heart. No wonder they don't bargain. Emotions are not something we pay for ourselves. However, Huo Yuhao also roughly determined the other party's identity. He is quite clear about the positioning of various products in the barbecue restaurant. The price of this 5 copper coin grilled fish is already very high, and there are not many ordinary customers. Judging from the other party's generous demeanor, they should be a more advanced soul master with certain economic strength and social status, and strong purchasing power. To be honest, the currency system of the original work is very chaotic, and this article can only be as logical as possible. Eat well. The girl opened her mouth slightly, bit off a piece of fish, and then widened her eyes, indulging in it without considering her appearance. "Beibei, you eat too." As she ate, she didn't forget to hand the other grilled fish to the boy. Yes, teacher Xiaoya." Beibei smiled helplessly, took the grilled fish she had bought with her own money from Tang's hand, and started eating it. "It's really good," Beibei couldn't help but brighten her eyes. He is also someone who has tasted many delicacies, and the grilled fish in his hand is no less than those delicacies. He confirmed again that it was indeed just an ordinary green fish. "It's so delicious, little brother. What did you add? Why can ordinary grilled fish be so delicious?" Tang quickly eliminated a grilled fish and licked her fingers with satisfaction. Ha! 13 fragrances, don't you know? Huo Yuhao held a grilled fish in one hand, while the other took out a processed green fish from his belt and grilled it over the fire. After all, selling two would not be enough for him to eat. Of course, he can also choose not to sell, but Huo Yuhao knows that reputation is important in catering. Storage Soul Guide. Beibei raised her eyebrows and noticed this detail. What is 13 fragrances? Tanya looked puzzled. Oh, aren't you from the Star Luo Empire? Huo Yuhao reacted and realized that he was no longer within the Star Luo territory. No, it's not. Okay. Huo Yuhao bit the grilled fish into his mouth, took out a flyer from his belt, and handed it to Tanya. Tanya took the flyer, which prominently read Haoge Barbecue, followed by advertisements for various promotional activities. Our unique secret recipe is at 40, Jianqing Street, Xinglua City, Xinglua Empire. Thank you for your patronage. Tanya. Haha, little brother, we will definitely go and take a look if we have the chance, Beibei smiled brightly. Thank you for your patronage. It's a great honor. Huo Yuhao was very satisfied with his viral promotion. Every small transaction is not worth much money, but reputation is gradually cultivated in this way. Beibei also finished his grilled fish and smiled slightly before asking, little brother, meet me. My name is Beibei, her name is Tanya, and your name is? Huo Yuhao. Huo Xiaodi, this is a wilderness and so close to the Star Do Forest. You say you are from the Star Luo Empire. Where are you planning to go? Passing by, my goal is Shrek City. Why go to Shrek City? Open a branch store. Huo Yuhao has a very strong talent skill. Nonsense. While talking nonsense, his face was full of promises, relaxed and freehand, as if it were true. But this is not a concealment, he can only speak halfway. Just hide his plan to hunt for the soul ring. Really? Upon hearing Huo Yuhao's words, Tanya burst into cheers. In the future, I can eat such delicious grilled fish every day in Shrek City. Beibei. Tanya seemed to find it not very satisfying and put on a pitiful expression as she looked at Beibei. Sigh. Beibei shook his head helplessly and handed Huo Yuhao a few silver coins. Hua, come a few more strings. So, Huo Yuhao grilled 7 or 8 fish while eating before stopping. It's so delicious, brother Hua. I will definitely go to the city every day to take care of your business in the future. Tanya stretched lazily with satisfaction. Beibei reminded on the side, Teacher Xiaoya, once we're full, we'll go get down to business. What's the rush? Isn't it coming now? Goodbye, brother Hua. Tanya and Beibei walked towards the forest. Senior. After talking to the two for a while, Huo Yuhao also learned their identities. They are third-year students at Shrek College, and if they pass the test smoothly in the new semester, they will be fourth-year students. Their purpose of coming to the Star Forest is to hunt soul rings for Tanya. However, Huo Yuhao did not disclose his identity as a new student. Taking out a homemade milk tea, Huo Yuhao lay on the ground, thinking while freezing it. He also wants to hunt for a soul ring for himself, but soul beasts with spiritual attributes are too rare. What if he can't find them? Or is it about using ice as the main martial soul for cultivation and finding an ice attribute soul beast? Never mind, there must be a way to get to the mountain by car. After finishing his milk tea, Huo Yuhao's right hand showed a chill, extinguished the fire, and walked towards the direction of the starry forest. Wow! It's so delicious, I really want to invite Brother Hua into our Tang men. Tang Yahue recalled the lingering fish fragrance on his tongue and sighed. Beibei could not help complaining. Miss Xiaoya, your recruitment criteria are really strange. Who said that? I didn't see his grilled fish being delicious. Tanya blushed and denied, I saw that he also has a bit of soul power. Although he's not very strong, Tang's sect can only recruit such disciples now. Beibei's expression is thought-provoking. If you want to recruit others, they may not necessarily like us. What does that mean? Tanya was somewhat dissatisfied. My judgment is not wrong. His soul power is definitely only about level 10. This little brother Hua is not simple, Beibei began to recall. Although his soul power is average, his physical fitness far exceeds that of a soul master of the same level, and I can be certain that there is a secret in him. There are two things about Huo Yuhao that indicate that he is not an ordinary person. The first point is his storage soul guide. Ordinary families cannot afford such things. However, this is not very convincing. Beibei looked at the flyer given to them by Huo Yuhao. With Huo's ability to make money, buying a few high-end storage soul guides is not a problem. The second point is what interests him. The pattern on Huo Yuhao's clothes. A roaring over-shoulder white tiger. This Huo Xiaodi should be from the Star Luo Empire, so he wouldn't be unaware of the meaning of white tiger in the Star Luo Empire. Ordinary people, even the vast majority of soul masters, dare not wear clothes with such patterns. It's not easy. Beibei sighed and regained his lazy appearance. End of this chapter. What kind of soul ring should we look for in Chapter 7? You are listening at novelfull.audio. What kind of soul ring should we look for in Chapter 7? 50 miles ahead, enter the starry forest. Soul beasts roam around, pay attention to safety. Glancing at the roadside notice, Huo Yuhao didn't pay any attention and continued to move forward with his hands in his pockets. At most, there will only be a century-old soul beast on this periphery, and he is confident that he can handle it completely. If outsiders know his thoughts, they will definitely mock him for overestimating his abilities. Why are you so arrogant, a soul warrior without even a soul ring, without a senior to lead you around? Soul beasts can be divided into 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, and 100,000 years based on their year, and the year will affect the quality of soul rings produced, displaying different colors such as white, yellow, purple, black, and red. Huo Yuhao planned to arrange a century-old soul ring for himself during his trip. Ji. Just as I was thinking about finding a spiritual attribute soul beast to replace, a piercing cry suddenly came from the front. Huo Yuhao's eyes lit slightly as he looked at the speaker of the sound. In front of him, not far away, a baboon about 1 meter tall, covered in brown-yellow, with green fangs, was twitching its limbs and making a strange threatening cry. The winged baboon, a standard 10-year soul beast, can only wander on the outskirts of the starry forest. It's really unpleasant to hear. Seeing the presence of soul beasts, Huo Yuhao had no intention of fighting or fleeing. Instead, he maintained the position of his left hand in his pocket and his right little finger pulling out his ear, looking impatient. Seeing that Huo Yuhao seemed to have ignored his threat, the winged baboon was a bit angry. It raised its upper body, punched itself hard in the chest, and roared as it opened its big mouth. Suddenly, a white light shot out of its mouth and flew straight towards Huo Yuhao. It's too slow. Huo Yuhao's feet did not move at all, and his upper body only tilted slightly at an angle. The fast white light brushed past him and hit a big tree, creating a small hole. The attack of the Kufeng baboon did not stop, and after the white light, its body also rushed forward. A pair of terrifyingly slender forearms grabbed at Huo Yuhao, with sharp nails clearly visible. The winged baboon's white light and pounce were both fast, but in the sight of Huo Yuhao's demonic eye, they appeared incredibly slow. He jumped to the side, and the winged baboon pounced in the air. Its short hind legs stumbled on the ground, forcing it to stabilize its body with its forearms. Ji. Ji. The winged baboon was about to stand up and continue its attack, but was pinned to the ground by a force from its back, unable to move and struggling to scream. Huo Yuhao put his hands in his pockets and stomped heavily on the winged baboon with his right foot, nailing it to the ground. He spoke up and said, "Brother Baboon, you're not my target. If you know you're wrong, I'll let you go. How about that?" How could the wind baboon understand his words? It screamed and struggled for a while, but when it couldn't break free, it extended its incredibly long forearm to grab at Huo Yuhao's calf. Ka, a sound of flesh and blood being pierced by sharp tools rang out, and the long arms raised by the wind baboon froze in the air, weakly drooping on the ground, instantly dead. "No wonder, brother baboon, you chose it yourself." Huo Yuhao shrugged innocently and moved his right foot away from the body of the wind baboon. At the spot where his right foot had originally stopped, there were two sharp ice spikes piercing through the heart and throat of the wind baboon. The outer layer of the ice thorn has begun to melt, and the ice water is mixed with blood, slowly seeping into the earth. A faint white light rose from the corpse of the wind baboon, forming an aperture. "This is exactly the soul ring. It's of no use, I don't even want to give it to Brother Hao for free." Huo Yuhao did not choose to absorb this soul ring, as its attributes do not match the year and are not good. However, he did not choose to leave, but showed interest in the body of the wind baboon. Soul beast meat is a great barbecue ingredient, often much more delicious than ordinary animal meat. He took out the white tiger dagger and danced around his fingertips a few times, then cut off one arm of the wind baboon with one knife and put it in his belt. At this moment, a sustained tremor suddenly came from the ground beneath my feet. Huo Yuhao quickly looked around with alertness. He didn't feel any scent of soul beasts, so the visitor was underground. He lowered his head again, and suddenly, his face changed. He, who had always been calm and composed, showed a hint of shock. A voice rang out in his mind without warning. "Finally, I have arrived at the chosen person of fate, a human youth with spiritual attributes. Hello." Sound in the ear. Huo Yuhao became even more alert and even put on a fighting posture. Kaka, the ground in front of him began to generate cracks, with faint white light and cold air emerging from the cracks. Ice. Huo Yuhao can clearly feel the continuously decreasing temperature. Quickly, in a crack that was nearly 5 meters long, the owner of the mysterious voice also revealed his true face. That is a round and large head, with a diameter of 1 meter just above the head, and below the head is a nearly 7-meter long body. It has a pair of small golden eyes on both sides of its head, and its entire body is jade white. There are 10 golden stripes on its crystal clear body at regular intervals. It looks like an enlarged silkworm baby. Where the hell did that come from? Huo Yuhao was not blind or foolish. Of course, he recognized it as a soul beast, but it was definitely not a century-old soul beast he could deal with. At least it must be 1,000 years, 1,000 years, or even higher. "Don't be afraid, human youth." The giant silkworm let out a slightly feminine voice. "First of all, let me introduce myself. I am a miracle among soul beasts, a witness of the long river of time, a life forgotten by the gods, and the only million-year soul beast on the continent, the heavenly dream ice silkworm. The only purpose of meeting you is to become your soul." Ah, wait. What about others? The heavenly dream ice silkworm was originally reciting its debut poem with great dignity, but before it could finish speaking, the spiritual attribute of humanity that it had finally found disappeared. It suddenly broke through and revealed its originally naive side. Tianmeng ice silkworm quickly looked around and realized that in just over 10 seconds, Huo Yuhao had already run over 200 meters away. Wait. What I said is true. It was about to crawl back to the ground to follow when suddenly it was caught by the corpse of a ground wind baboon. On the corpse with one forearm cut off, there are 2 sharp ice spikes inserted. The ice thorn has melted and merged with the dried blood and water. This. The Tianmeng ice silkworm's 2 small eyes widened to the fullest, and its massive white body was trembling with excitement. This force is familiar to it all. It has the same ice properties as it. Is there a more suitable human than this young man to entrust to, besides his temporarily weak soul power, his spirit, ice, and strong physique. Is this a gift from fate to oneself? After experiencing that hellish torture, I encountered such an opportunity. No, I won't miss this opportunity. Even if it's another 1,000,000 years, I won't be able to find such humans. I can't wait for the second 1,000,000 years anymore. The heavenly dream ice silkworm once again burrowed back into the ground, and the original cracks gathered again. A few minutes later, a paw covered in golden scales and hair, wrapped in a golden flame, stepped on this piece of land. End of this chapter. In Chapter 8, the soul ring was delivered to the door by itself. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In Chapter 8, the soul ring was delivered to the door by itself. Where did the big fat bug come from, pretending to be a god and a ghost, and coming out to scare you, Haoge, just like a young Masra? Huo Yuhao cursed fiercely as he ran. He wasn't interested in listening to that big fat bug babbling. As soon as he heard the other person speak, he immediately became enthusiastic. At his current speed comparable to Bolt's, he ran several hundred meters in an instant. He immediately discovered the spiritual attributes of the heavenly dream ice silkworm, but had no intention of using it as a soul ring. Just kidding, this soul beast can even talk. Can it handle it on its own? How could a talking soul beast take tens of thousands of years? Wait a minute. Young man, I really want to make your soul ring, the unprecedented smart soul ring on the mainland. Huo Yuhao's pupils contracted and he quickly stopped walking. The ground in front of him cracked another crack, and the heavenly dream ice silkworm crawled out of the crack again, with two small eyes on his brain bag staring at him feverishly. Why are you haunted? I don't have a rush for syrup on me. Huo Yuhao also stopped running. Judging from the speed at which the other person was drilling, he couldn't run away himself. Moreover, the other person was willing to communicate, so he might as well listen to what he wanted to say first. He squinted his eyes and asked, "What exactly are you?" "I am not something, I am the only 1,000,000-year soul beast in the whole continent, the heavenly dream ice silkworm." Tianmeng ice silkworm's tone was extremely excited. "I want to become your soul ring, and you will have the most powerful 1,000,000-year soul ring. Believe me, with our level of fit and the power I bring to you, you will definitely reach that level." Several short hands under Tianmeng ice silkworm wriggled excitedly, and in its eyes, Huo Yuhao seemed like a rope that could pull him out of the abyss. "What are you talking about?" Huo Yuhao sneered, "Why should I believe what you, this ugly and fat bug, are saying?" The huge body of Tianmeng ice silkworm suddenly shone with white light, and a ball of white light slowly landed, transforming into a girl about 10 years old in front of the huge insect body. She wore a white coat adorned with golden patterns, exuding a holy and untainted aura. Under golden short hair, there is a cute face carved in powder and jade. The most eye-catching thing is her large golden eyes, clear yet profound, containing complex emotions. She spoke softly, as if pleading, "You should believe it now, right?" "The use of mental power is good," Huo Yuhao snapped his fingers, "but the beauty trick is ineffective for me." The girl shook her head and denied, "This is not a mental simulation, this is what I look like after transforming." Huo Yuhao remained silent and focused his soul power in his eyes. This girl does have a physical presence, not simulated with mental power. But he doesn't trust the other person so easily. If you can transform, then the other party must be at least a soul beast over 100,000 years old. What is your true purpose? Huo Yuhao asked coldly. I have said it many times. Tianmeng ice silkworm slowly walked towards him, I want to be your soul ring. Huo Yuhao sneered and said, that's really the sun shining in the west. Surprisingly, some soul beasts are willing to take the initiative to become someone else's soul ring. It's too surprising, it's hard to believe. Huo Yuhao certainly wouldn't believe the other party's one-sided words. He firmly believed that if something goes wrong, there will always be demons. It's okay. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm had already walked up to him and extended a forefinger. You'll believe it soon. She pressed against Huo Yuhao's forehead, and in an instant, white light shone. The surging spiritual and soul power surged towards Huo Yuhao's body. Huo Yuhao's face turned pale, and he wanted to escape when the heavenly dream ice silkworm approached. However, the opponent's massive spiritual power, like a shackle, imprisoned him in place, unable to move. The fingers of the heavenly dream ice silkworm were like a flood discharge dam, and a massive amount of spiritual energy was constantly flowing into Huo Yuhao's mind. Huo Yuhao gritted his teeth, feeling an endless chill pouring into his brain. Cold. It's so cold. Deep into the bone marrow of coldness. After awakening the martial soul ice, he had not tasted the feeling of cold for a long time. The long-lost chill constantly stimulated his cerebral cortex. However, the chill did not last long and almost all flowed towards his dantian, being absorbed and assimilated by the already existing cold energy in his body. Hiss. Whoa. Huo Yuhao took a deep breath and felt the chill gradually disappear, turning into his own strength. Great, great. You can withstand so much of my strength. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm was ecstatic. Huo Yuhao's physical and mental strength far exceeds his imagination. Although he is only at level 10, his energy source constantly accepts her soul and spiritual power. Her face was filled with excitement, as if she had already seen the moment of success. Get lost. However, just as Tianmeng Ice Silkworm was immersed in joy, a hand emitting a chill forcefully grabbed her outstretched wrist, pulling her back from fantasy to reality. Huo Yuhao looked at her coldly with a faint blue light in his eyes. Get out of my mind. Huo Yuhao looked down at Tianmeng Ice Silkworm with a terrifying coldness in his eyes. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm looked stunned, but found that her spiritual power had stopped flowing in. Huo Yuhao's spiritual power suddenly became stronger, and the spiritual channel between the two was locked, unable to circulate or disconnect. What did you do? Tianmeng Ice Silkworm couldn't believe that the ocean of spiritual power she had accumulated over millions of years was stopped by Huo Yuhao. Now Huo Yuhao is unwilling to cooperate. If she forcefully instills her spiritual strength, it will definitely harm Huo Yuhao's spiritual source. No one wants to control me. Huo Yuhao tightly grabbed Tianmeng Ice Silkworm's wrist. No one can think of it. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm anxiously said, I don't want to control you. I really want to become your soul ring, don't you crave to become stronger? I won't become someone else's puppet just to become stronger. Huo Yuhao squinted, can a person with strong spiritual power take away others? I'm not going to take you away, I don't have that ability. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm's face suddenly changed, and a sense of crisis burst from her heart. She hurriedly glanced at the distance, where a powerful spiritual force was constantly approaching. It must be aimed at her. I beg you. I really didn't lie to you, just let me be your soul ring. Otherwise, they will come. The heavenly dream ice silkworm was crying in a hurry. Even though she had hidden her breath, the other party had not yet noticed, but if she continued to be so deadlocked, she would eventually be found. Tell me who you really are and your true purpose. Huo Yuhao asked with an undeniable dignity. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm took a deep breath and knew that if she didn't say anything, this stubborn donkey-like human teenager would not be able to agree to her. She maintained the posture of being grabbed by Huo Yuhao's wrist and quickly recounted. I was originally born into the Ice Silkworm clan in the far north, and I am a rare spiritual soul beast with little combat power. However, during a chance escape from natural enemies, I fell into an ice cave filled with top-grade cold marrow. There was no threat from natural enemies, and by continuously absorbing these ice attribute treasures, I gradually broke through and became a soul beast for 10,000 years, a soul beast for 100,000 years, and a soul beast for over 90,000 years. However, despite my nearly million-year cultivation, I have little combat power. After leaving the ice cave, I fell into the ocean and kept wandering to avoid other powerful soul beasts. In the end, I arrived here, the Star Forest. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Lion Dragon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Lion Dragon, the Starry Forest, is a hellish place. Inside, there are dozens of ferocious beasts with over 100,000 years of cultivation. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm streamlined her experiences in order to help Huo Yuhao quickly understand the background. Oh, they hurt you. Huo Yuhao sneered, aren't you claiming to be a million-year soul beast? At that time, I had not officially broken through the million-year mark, and I was not good at combat. There was no other way but to use my mental power to cover up myself. However, I was still caught by them. My body is filled with the power of heaven and earth, which is the best food for those ferocious beasts. They imprison me, constantly devouring and absorbing my power, for a total of 10,000 years. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm's tone gradually darkened, as if unwilling to mention that past. However, my opportunity has finally come. Not long ago, I finally broke through the million-year mark and became a true million-year soul beast, finally able to fully conceal my breath and escape. The words of Tianmeng Ice Silkworm sound quite logical, explaining the causes and consequences, and it is quite tragic, making people unable to help but sympathize. Unfortunately, I still haven't gained the trust of Huo Yuhao. So the first thing you do after escaping is to become a human soul ring. Huo Yuhao snorted, then I have a suggestion for you. Use your appearance to infiltrate human society and ensure that no soul beasts can find you. That direction is the Star Luo Empire. Let's say goodbye and treat everyone well. I don't have time anymore, Heavenly Dream Ice Silkworm said anxiously. I have passed 1,000,000 years and the limit of soul beasts is coming soon. I will definitely not be able to endure this heavenly calamity. Only by becoming you. The soul ring of the twin martial souls with ice and spirit attributes that perfectly match me. Can I survive? Huo Yuhao said, oh, what's the point? You can't survive now, can you just become a soul ring and survive? Tianmeng Ice Silkworm said, I can preserve my consciousness and some of my strength after becoming a soul ring, and then I will do my best to help you become stronger and reach the level of a god. Only God has eternal life, and I, who am attached to you, can overcome the calamity and achieve eternity. This is my plan to create gods. Hurry up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your soul ring. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm's heart became increasingly anxious, her speech speed also became faster, her voice unconsciously became louder, and her final tone even turned into pleading. She looked at Huo Yuhao in confusion, who still held on to her wrist expressionlessly. Her blue eyes made her feel a hint of fear. Promise quickly. What are you hesitating about? As long as you agree, you will have the only million-year soul ring in the whole continent. Hurry up. I feel like they're coming soon. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm's tone began to tremble. She could feel the spiritual force following her from the core area of the Star Forest to here. Fortunately, the other party can only sense their general direction and cannot determine their specific location. But under the carpet-style sweeping of the other party, even if it was still dozens of miles away, it was only a matter of time before I was discovered. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm knew that she couldn't drag on any longer. She must immediately integrate into Huo Yuhao's body to conceal her own breath. She gritted her teeth, disregarding the damage she might have caused to Huo Yuhao, who had been resisting him all along. She increased the mental confinement on Huo Yuhao and forcefully broke through the spiritual barrier set by him, infusing all her spiritual power. The 10 golden rings on her body enveloped Huo Yuhao's body as if she had come to life. Huo Yuhao's body paused and he was forced to accept the power of the heavenly dream ice silkworm. His face darkened, and he clenched his right hand even tighter. Success. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm felt a joy in her heart. She knew that such a rough fusion would inevitably bring some side effects to Huo Yuhao, but at this moment, she couldn't control so much anymore. Please explain everything slowly afterwards, and I will do my best to make up for it. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm silently said in her heart. Just when Tianmeng Ice Silkworm thought everything was going well, a sudden mutation occurred. Bang! The originally clear sky suddenly exploded with thunder, and endless darkness instantly obscured the sky. Accompanied by endless pressure, a gray airflow descended from the sky. It landed in the vast and boundless starry forest, but came straight towards Huo Yuhao, landing on his head and slowly merging into his body. The sky has returned to its original sunny state. What? What? The heavenly dream ice silkworm was shocked and turned pale. After the gray airflow merged into Huo Yuhao's body, the power transmission between her and Huo Yuhao stopped, and the 10 golden rings covering Huo Yuhao's body also returned to the heavenly dream ice silkworm's body. Who are you? Why are you trying to stop me? Tianmeng Ice Silkworm asked with a trembling aura emanating from it. But no one responded to her. No, it's okay, I can start over again. Seeing that the oppressive owner did not answer, Tianmeng Ice Silkworm slightly recovered. Suddenly, her pupils suddenly shrank and she mechanically turned her head to look in one direction. With a thud, she collapsed on the ground, trying her best to hold on to the ground without collapsing, her whole body trembling uncontrollably. Done. It's all done. Spiritually confined, Huo Yuhao felt relaxed and enjoyed the dual freedom of body and spirit. He moved his hands and feet and snorted coldly, why did it stop? Done. It's all done. However, Tianmeng Ice Silkworm did not answer him, just kept trembling and repeating this sentence. He squinted his eyes as he followed the direction of the heavenly dream ice silkworm, and another powerful spiritual force came from there. In the blue eyes, there is a golden reflection. That is a 4-legged soul beast resembling a lion, about 3 meters long, with golden hair all over its body, but very similar to a dragon. It has sharp claws and is covered in scales and armor. The most peculiar thing is its eyes. In addition to its normal golden eyes, it also has a strange red vertical eye on its forehead, which is majestic and scattered. Its running posture is like a golden little sun. The lion dragon. Huo Yuhao frowned, and the first thing that came to his mind was the image of the 9 sons of the dragon in his memory, similar to a lion. But does the lion dragon have 3 long eyes? Huo Yuhao didn't think much and regained his free body, wanting to escape from here immediately. A large wall of fire rose around, trapping Huo Yuhao and Tianmeng Ice Silkworm in place. How could there be soul beasts of this level on the edge of the forest? Huo Yuhao felt the high temperature of the flames and cursed inwardly. If you want to forcefully cross that sea of fire, you have to peel off your skin even if you don't die. The lion dragon gradually approached and slowed down its pace, revealing a hint of sarcasm on its face. It's really lucky that you almost let this big bug escape. It speaks human words and surprisingly emits a clear and moving female voice. Indeed, it's you, and only you can find me. Why didn't they stop you from leaving the core area? Tianmeng Ice Silkworm's voice trembled, and 2 lines of desperate tears had already flowed from the corners of her eyes. Thank you very much, the lion dragon chuckled. Thank you very much for helping me hide my breath in front of me so that I can sneak out. I've been wanting to suck on your brain for a long time. It paced gracefully with greedy eyes. What's wrong with your pitiful human appearance? You're as weak as the human next to you. The lion dragon seemed to have just noticed the existence of Huo Yuhao and asked with great interest. Humans. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm looked at Huo Yuhao and felt a wave of sadness in her heart, which grew even stronger. Why didn't he agree earlier? Why didn't you forcefully merge earlier? Each person and silkworm will become food for that auspicious beast next time. It is naturally irritable and only likes to eat brain marrow. Now there's not even a whole body left. At the thought of this, Tianmeng Ice Silkworm felt even more sad. End of this chapter. Chapter 10, Then I Will Take You to Become a God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10, Then I Will Take You to Become a God. The lion dragon lightly leaped and its agile posture pounced on Huo Yuhao and Tianmeng Ice Silkworm. The heavenly dream ice silkworm seems to have accepted her fate, staying in place and no longer resisting. Huo Yuhao instinctively grabbed her and flipped aside, avoiding the attack of the lion dragon, but her massive body was not so lucky and was trampled on by the lion dragon. The lion dragon was not in a hurry, as if playing with them, shooting out slow golden flames as they dodged. She stepped on the body of the heavenly dream ice silkworm and looked pitifully at the evading two, jokingly saying, "It's really pitiful and weak." Huo Yuhao pulled the daydreaming ice silkworm in a daze and kept avoiding, cursing the flower in his heart long ago. How could such a monster appear on the edge of the starry forest, where even a 1,000-year-old soul beast is rare to see? Aren't you a 1,000,000-year-old soul beast, this big fat bug? How could you be afraid of that guy? He cursed at Tianmeng, who was holding on to his opponent. I don't believe that your cultivation for 1,000,000 years is all air. What are you waiting for? Counterattack me. Tianmeng said dejectedly, No. I can't take action against it. Can't make a move. Why? Just as Huo Yuhao was puzzled, the lion dragon suddenly stopped playing with the two and jumped to the side. The ultimate attribute of brightness is truly nostalgic. A majestic and elderly voice sounded faintly, making people involuntarily awe. The lion dragon's face changed greatly, and he looked cautiously at the gray figure that appeared in front of Huo Yuhao. That seemed to be a human figure dressed in a gray robe, elusive, yet exuding an insurmountable aura. Who are you? The lion dragon asked with caution. I'm just a lucky surviving soul. The gray figure spoke slowly, as if looking at the lion dragon. The ultimate attributes of light and fire, massive spiritual power, the power of fate, it seems that you still have a trace of the dragon clan's bloodline. The lion dragon was restless in its heart. With just one glance, the gray figure saw through all its abilities, but it couldn't see through it at all. What kind of gap is this? It lingered in place, afraid to move forward, but did not leave. Its gaze occasionally turned to Huo Yuhao and Tianmeng Ice Silkworm. Anyway, there were walls of fire around, so it was not afraid of them escaping. It seems that Brother Hao is quite good at fortune-telling. Huo Yuhao was sighing when suddenly he felt a tug on his arm. I saw Tianmeng Ice Silkworm pulling one of his arms and trembling, saying, "Shao. Young man, although I don't know who it is, let's take advantage of it now. The matter of soul ring can be discussed later." Huo Yuhao couldn't hold his breath and said, "Escape. Escape. Didn't you see the flames around you?" Tianmeng Ice Silkworm whispered, "I can still use the power of my origin to resolve its attacks. Even a soul beast that has been around for 700,000 years can be injured by my power of origin. Since you're so powerful, why are you still running away? I don't believe you can't use mental shock or other techniques to kill it with your 1,000,000-year spiritual power." Huo Yuhao couldn't understand. I can feel that the lion dog is also a spiritual attribute and its spiritual power is definitely not as strong as yours. Your spiritual impact will definitely make it regret it. Huo Yuhao tried his best to remain calm and analyze, without realizing how crazy his resistance plan was in the eyes of Tianmeng Ice Silkworm. Fool! Do you know what kind of soul beast that is? Tianmeng Ice Silkworm exclaimed in surprise. That's protected by fierce beasts in the entire starry forest. The Emperor's auspicious beast, three-eyed golden lion. And then what? Although it has only been around 15,000 years of cultivation, its strength has already reached 100,000 years. So what? Huo Yuhao still couldn't understand. 100,000 years is enough for you to inflict a heavy blow on it with spiritual impact. You haven't understood the meaning of the Emperor's auspicious beast to the soul beast yet. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm is really scared. No matter how powerful the soul beast is, even if it is a ferocious beast, it can only bow down in front of the emperor's auspicious beast and cannot harm it. Even if it is chosen as food, it can only flee and cannot resist. It's really interesting, Huo Yuhao smiled. It turns out that your soul beasts are also so futile. What do you know? In places where there are Emperor Rui beasts, the cultivation speed of all soul beasts is twice that of normal states. However, on the entire continent, only one Emperor Rui beast can exist at the same time, and it is the only one. That is to say, it is the treasure jointly guarded by soul beasts in the entire Star Do forest. If I take action on it now, those ferocious beasts will definitely tear me apart. I will immediately extinguish the surrounding flames. Let's escape together. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm pleaded, hoping that Huo Yuhao would leave with her. Do you think there is a worse situation than now? Huo Yuhao put a piece of ice into his mouth and chewed it slowly. Do you think that those soul beasts in the starry forest treat you as their own kind? This question directly hit Tianmeng Ice Silkworm's heart, evoking some painful memories for her. You said the Emperor's auspicious beast can accelerate the cultivation speed of other soul beasts, so it's okay to absorb your heaven and earth elemental power. Why didn't they offer you up for worship too? Huo Yuhao's voice was plain, but it was like a knife cutting through the heart of Tianmeng Ice Silkworm. The purpose of running away is not to actually run, but to balance the defense and counterattack due to insufficient strength. Once you find an opportunity to strike the enemy's living strength, you must decisively counterattack. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm recalled the few moments of her long life when she was sober, as if she had really been running away. Because I ran away and fell into an ice cave, because I ran away and fell into the ocean, because I ran away and accidentally entered the starry forest. She began to waver. She spoke softly. What about after the counterattack? Waiting for their endless revenge. Haoge, I'm not the kind of person who likes to endure humiliation and bear heavy burdens. I like to seek revenge as soon as possible. Even if you can't get revenge, it's still good to be disgusted and disgusted by the other side. But that way, there's no way back. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm said bitterly. She didn't realize that, unconsciously, the fear in her heart was gradually dissipating. Did you have a way back before? Huo Yuhao's mouth curved with an excited grin. If you want to do it absolutely. Now, gather all your spiritual strength, aim at the eye on that guy's head, and dive in hard. Are you going to be a coward for 1,000,000 years, or a strong one who controls your own destiny? Tell me what your choice is. Huo Yuhao's words were like the whispers of demons, making the heavenly dream Ice Silkworm unable to resist the temptation. I've never tried such a level of attack before. If it's not successful, then we're really finished. Her breathing was rapid, and her voice still had a slight tremble, but it was not all fear, but a different emotion. Excited. The massive Ice Silkworm stood behind her, shining with white and gold light, and finally gathered all over her golden eyes. If it's not over. Huo Yuhao smiled, his eyes revealing infinite confidence, arrogance, and ambition. Then I'll take you to become a god. End of this chapter.